Namaste and welcome to another episode of Itihasdhir. The book we'll be reviewing today is a book on dharma written by our very own Ami
Ami
Ganatra and
Ganatra,
it's
and it's
called Mahabharata Unravelled.
Oh, I
So,
have an extra one
Aditya,
in it. I
you
have
have
the
an
one in
extra?
it. The one in
Oh,
it.
oh, I think because वो अभी वो हुआ है ना, the
Part two came
Unraveled
out.
Part 2
Yeah.
has come out. Anyway, so what is your first impression of the book?
Hmm. I think again, like Ramayana Unraveled, I think there is a lot that the book uncovers. So
Hmm.
with a recent movie that came out, which extolled the virtues of Karn and the relationship, the friendship between Karn and Duryodhan, and I saw at least on my feed at least a dozen tweets that went, I would rather have a friendship like Karn and Duryodhan than like Arjun and Krishna or something like that. Take care.
Hmm.
So I think this whole oh I am such a sweet guy on a wrong side वाला जो कर्ण का पूरा vibe दिखाया गया है over the years in TV serials, in there is a TV serial called Suryaputra Karn or something like that, I think, and that also extols the virtues and the Danvirta and everything of Karn. The book shows the truth as it stands in the original epics. It
Hmm.
it essentially where you say things like, oh, he was a Danvir. It shows
Yeah.
that there was a particular part of the day, there was a particular pratigya to which he stood. But if you were to go asking him even for a roti at the other part of the day, he probably wouldn't give it to you. It shows the egoistic side of him. It shows, so not just Karna, I mean, that's just an example, but the book
Hmm.
shows you the mirror, as in it shows Mahabharata as it stands in the original epics without distortion.
So this whole thing जहाँ पे everyone says कि Karn and Duryodhan, Karn was just being a good friend. Because if you read Mrityunjay, उसके towards the end by Shivaji Sawant, उसके towards the end it comes out कि Karn wants to come to the right side, but he's like nahi. You know what? When Kunti goes to him, he wants to come to the right side also, but he's like, no, you know what? He stood by me when I had no one. And that is used as in a very apologetic way that we are not being fair to Karn because he's a very nice guy. He's just being a good friend. No, he's not being a good friend. If he would have been a good friend, he would be stopping Duryodhan when Duryodhan is making all these horrible statements, committing atrocities. He is being, I mean, he's literally being a jackass to his cousins, his own kith and kin, and
And that
and
brings us
rather
to, yeah, yeah, sorry.
इवन शकुनी जिसको हम इतना वो करते हैं, इवन ही कम्स एंड ही सेज व्हाट, अगर वो 5 गांव मांग रहे हैं तो दे दो, लाइक इट्स ओके. एंड कर्ण इज लाइक नहीं नहीं ऐसे कैसे, लाइक कर्ण इज ऑलवेज द वन इंस्टिगेटिंग हिम.
So
सो फॉर
first
कर्ण
of all,
दुर्योधन.
yeah, first
हाँ.
of all, it brings to light the topic of discussion that is, well, very debated and very relevant.
Hmm.
That is, what is friendship? Is it just blindly agreeing with your friend, or is it, sort of showing him the mirror and showing him the truth when you should, as a
But
good
he
friend,
wasn't even blindly agreeing with him. He used to use what I feel, what I
instigate
have
the
at least.
fight.
He used to use him as a means to an end. He used to feel incapable and he was bina wajah ke he's after Arjun all the time. So
Hmm.
for him, Duryodhan was a means to an end. ठीक है, Duryodhan was the person जिसको he had the army, he had this and that. उसके through he used to keep on poking Arjun. And that was basically what his life was all about. And if you want to glorify him as someone he was not through crap movies, then that is a whole different argument. It would not even be a discussion, it would be an argument.
So basically, I think, first of all, see, Karan ka to obviously the whole thing is there, with the instigation of the as you said, the war, when
Hmm.
Krishna ji came to warn them, and when he had asked for Panch Gaon instead of the whole Samrajya. And then, obviously, during the war, we see the same thing happening again and again. Then, egoistically, he stands out of the war while I think Bhishma Pitama is leading
Ah,
the war.
because it's like I will not be under him.
Because again and again, Karn tells us that he is the most brilliant, the most fearsome warrior out there. And the elders know the truth. The elders know that he isn't. And every time a mirror is shown up to him, he feels very insecure. He feels like he's been exposed, and he gets angry and walks off. That is his whole personality, right? Even with, I mean, ek to this, and the other shameful aspect is that over the years, what they've tried to do, what Chitra Banerjee, I think, started, and then it was taken up by a lot of these other authors, was that, oh, Draupadi was in love with Karn.
Hmm.
I am sorry, but if you, I hope you never have to, but if any woman goes through the painful, sort of cheer haran that Draupadi did, um, I don't think a person who called the woman a prostitute in front of the whole court would love that man. I am sorry, but that is exactly what he did. They
I
try to cover up that
so
aspect. They say,
yeah.
oh, like Vidur and like all these Bhishma Pitama and Dronacharya and all, like they were standing quiet in the assembly. He was also standing quiet. No, he instigated the whole thing. You read
He
the
he
he
called her a prostitute.
when people were actually trying to defend her, when Vidur and all were actually trying to defend her, he said, what rights does a prostitute have? And he actually egged uh, what was his name, Dushasan, to go on.
To
he
go,
he
yeah.
essentially promoted the whole thing. And uske baad aap keh rahe ho she
And
was in love with him. That's
there
idiotic.
is this line in that book, Palace of Illusions, where Chitra is like, Ki Draupadi thought that if she had been married to Karn, this wouldn't have happened. Which did you even read the facts before you wrote the book? And I feel this is, and then she comes out with another one, which again it goes into that forest of enchantments. Usme bhi aisa hi hai. You are saying that you know what the woman is feeling. No, I feel that is what either that's what you are going through. That's what you are feeling. Don't
No,
project your.
the thing is, when Karn, I think his chariot is stuck, and he asks Shri Krishna when his vad is going
Hmm.
to happen, and he asks कि आप कहते धर्म रक्षति रक्षता, जो धर्म की रक्षा करता है धर्म उसकी रक्षा करता है, and he says मैंने तो हमेशा धर्म की रक्षा की, अब धर्म मेरी रक्षा क्यों नहीं कर रहा? And Krishna ji essentially tells him कि तुम कभी धर्म के साथ खड़े ही नहीं थे. It isn't that you're
Yeah.
on the wrong side of the war. You were given options. More than that, you were always the person who instigated these things. I mean, so an example from the book, it specifically says Karn suggested they go and kill the Pandavas in the forest itself and solve the problem forever. Duryodhan agreed, but Vyas Muni intervened and stopped Duryodhan from attempting another misadventure. So this is his personality. This is basically what Karn was. That he, sort of egged on all of these misadventures. He was like, "Ma'am, all of this war, if it was caused because of other people's murkta, Karn stands on the top of this stellar list that made this war actually happen."
He was always, for him, it was always about ki nahi, it's not, and ek na, but yeah, underdog narrative. See, this is how narratives work. The underdog narrative is spread across so prominently कि अगर अभी, even if now you start talking about it, people will still come and they still have this thing कि नहीं उसको chance नहीं मिला. अरे किधर chance नहीं मिला? नहीं उसको सूत पुत्र बोला. It was not said in an abusive way.
Sut
तुमको
putra means putra, I think, right?
नहीं सूत was the जो उसके parents का जाति
मछुआर.
था.
अच्छा, हाँ, ठीक है.
ठीक है। अब लाइक इफ तुम्हें तुम्हारे पेरेंट्स या तुम्हारे उसी से तो बुलाएंगे, हाउ इज दैट एन अब्यूज? एंड इफ ही इज ओके विद इट, उसने इतना दंगा नहीं मचाया, तुम्हें अभी क्या आके यू वांट टू रेज
It's
दैट
the same thing
एज
that we
पॉइंट्स ऑफ
discussed
एग्रेशन?
now. It's the same thing we discussed, making heroes out of Ravan and Mahishasur and all of these people. Oh, look, they were different and they were punished for it. Wala savior narrative.
नॉट इवन सेवियर, इट्स दैट अंडरडॉग टू सेवियर नैरेटिव कि अरे नहीं बिकॉज तुम लोग का लाइफ सबका ठीक है, एवरीवन हैज हार्डशिप्स इन देयर लाइफ, बट इफ यू वांट टू बिहेव लाइक अ डैम विक्टिम एंड देन क्राई अबाउट इट कि अरे नहीं नहीं, हमारे साथ तो लाइफ में सभी उल्टा हो रहा है, हम तो कर्ण जैसे हैं, दिस इज व्हाट इज गोना, दैट्स हाउ यू डेवलप रिलेटेबिलिटी. So to say, you would not say ki are, if he was still living in the palace, if anyone was treated in a horrible way, it was the Pandavas more
Mm-hmm.
so. I mean, वो लोग कहाँ ही रहे हैं महल में. The only time they developed Indraprasth, and they were not even able to enjoy the fruits of their hard work. They've been
So I
banished
read,
time and again. Huh?
yeah, sorry. Go on, go on.
They've been banished time and again from their rightful luxuries over and over again. You don't see them crying. You see them making, yes, they do have moments they get angry, but then they are like, oh, you know what? This is it. इस पे ये करना है. Let's just do it. That is the narrative which should be, not even that's the narrative which should be promoted. That is the thing we should get inspired by. But everyone wants to look for excuses. हमें हमेशा चाहिए होता है कि किसी को blame करे कि ओ यू नो व्हाट, आई मैं तो बस अगला प्रधानमंत्री मैं ही होता, बट यू नो आई डिडंट सेल टी एट द राइट टाइम. हाँ, it's the same nonsense, no?
Fair enough.
But I like how Ami talks about these things, how she has taken it again, even here, she has taken it upon herself to be like, "Ki stop portraying women as unnecessarily weak characters when they were not." Draupadi had
This
her
this
own
is what
voice.
I was trying to find at the time.
Hmm.
Say another
That,
voice supporting Vidur's view came from Vikarna, Duryodhan's
hmm.
brother. Draupadi has posed a valid question before us. If not resolved honestly, great misfortune will befall us. Even if none of you say anything, I will certainly share what I believe. These scriptures talk about four vices of a king: alcoholism, hunting, gambling, and lust. A decision made when a person is deluded by one of these vices is not honorable. Yudhishthir staked Draupadi, having lost his mind in gambling. In addition, he is not Draupadi's only husband. The other four brothers have an equal claim on her. Above all, he lost himself before staking Draupadi. Moreover, Yudhishthir was provoked into staking Draupadi by Shakuni. With a view of all of these factors, I do not consider Draupadi as won over by Duryodhan, and Vikarn was rudely dismissed by Karn. Rather, he was instigating the disrobing of Draupadi. This is what I was trying to find the whole thing. Now, people do not reach yahan tak. People read Chitra Banerjees. They watch idiotic YouTube videos. They believe what comes on Star Plus, and they're like, "Oh, मर्यादा पुरुषोत्तम है ये भी हमारे." अरे भाई तुम
This,
मतलब
हाँ.
किसको एलिवेट कर रहे हो टू अ पोजीशन ऑफ अ धर्म रक्षक? You are
But then that is what, if you look at it from the other side, I was just thinking about this right now. Isn't this the perfect way कि देखो, he was being a good friend, उसने धर्म का रास्ता भी अपनाया, but उसके साथ क्या हुआ? तो धर्म से कुछ नहीं होता है. There's also this narrative which is being very subtly peddled.
And that is a very dangerous narrative.
There are people who are actually falling for it, and they're happily dancing all over it.
This is sad. This is not exactly related to Ami's book. I mean, it is. It's about Bhagavad Gita, but so there's this Gita called Yatharth Gita, which is the interpretation of the war and of Gita by Swami Angadanand Maharaj as he received from his guru. And it
Hmm.
takes the war to a very spiritual, metaphysical sort of a level, right? And it tells you the hidden messages behind the war, and I found it very, spiritual in nature. So just when it talks about Kurukshetra, it will tell you just
Hmm.
first two words in Bhagavad Gita are dharma kshetre kurukshetre, right? So it talks
Hmm.
about the concept of Kurukshetra. Kurukshetra mein kuru, which means karna, right? So
Hmm.
Kurukshetra is essentially when you're doing something without, sort of thinking about it. It's basically आप कुछ ऐसा कर रहे हो जिसके बारे में आप सोच भी नहीं रहे हो, राइट? And so it talks about the concept that your body is a constant fight between a dharma kshetra, which is a land of, sort of peace and spirituality and dharma, and a kurukshetra where you're performing mindless actions. And there's a
Hmm.
constant battle between the two, whether your body becomes a kurukshetra or a dharma kshetra. And how from gods to worms, humans included, are bound by the three sort of aspects, which is sattva, rajas, and tamas. How all
Hmm.
of our actions are defined by 10 things, which is the five senses that we've all studied about. These three aspects, which is sattva, rajas, tamas, and two more things, which is the subjective mind and the objective mind, matlab the
Hmm.
ego aspect of the mind and the objective mind. And I mean, it is such a beautiful concept to read. So I will, along with Ami's book obviously is a must read and a starting point. You can't get to something as deep as Yatharth Gita without knowing the basics of Mahabharata. If you're deluded about why the war happened in the first place and who was a Rakshak of the Dharma and who was a Bhakshak of the Dharma, then you can't reach Gita and understand what it says. So Ami's book obviously is a starting point, but I would recommend our readers to read Yatharth Gita as well. It is a very amazing treatise on the Bhagavad Gita, and yeah, I don't know. I strangely find a lot of comfort in that. So yeah, just that.
That is very insightful. Also, what I like in the narration that Ami has done, a lot of people say एक तो तीन चीजें हैं कि अरे घर में महाभारत नहीं रखनी चाहिए, महाभारत की बुक नहीं रखनी चाहिए और ये नहीं रखना चाहिए, लड़ाई हो जाती है, ऐसा कुछ नहीं होता है. And this whole thing कि and that is also that's such a nice way of saying ना आपको अपने उससे आपको अपने रूट से दूर करने का कितना परफेक्ट ढंग है कि you just put out something like this and there are enough idiots to believe it and follow it as well. या अरे महाभारत तो औरत की वजह से हुआ था, पुरुष नहीं
The
किए थे.
most idiotic thing that two most idiotic things that people say is one, महाभारत द्रौपदी के प्रतिशोध की गाथा है. I am sorry, but it is just not true.
ओके ठीक है. ओके लेट्स आई हैव अ क्वेश्चन. अगर तुम सड़क पर चल रहे हो एंड समवन ड्राइव्स बाय यू एंड दिस पिल तुम्हारे ऊपर कीचड़ के छींटे आ जाए, तुम उसकी जान लेने के लिए दौड़ पड़ोगे, ठीक है? नॉट यू पर से, आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट पीपल, ठीक है? So यहाँ पे you're saying that this lady is humiliated and she wants to be avenged, and it's not even that she wants people dying for it. She's just like कि भाई
No,
what
but
is
then that
rightful
is also not the full truth, no, Aditi. See, the thing is that first of all, when you say Pratishod ki gatha hai, Pratishod literally means revenge. Draupadi
revenge.
did
Yeah,
not
this is
want
not revenge.
revenge per se, first of all.
Yeah,
Second of all, when the whole thing happens, they go for Banvas and Agyatwas, and then they come back, they ask for their kingdom, and they say we won't have a war. They
that's
know
what I
that
was coming
there
to.
is going to be
Yeah,
a war
they try.
realistically, but they try to actively avoid it. If it was
They
a
like कि
Pratishod
why
ki
did the
gatha,
Pandavas, why did the Pandavas not settle and all that? No one wants to see that they did everything possible. Shri Krishna भी अपने तरफ से गए कि you know what,
See, the
उन्हीं को
thing
बंदी
is,
बना
that
लिया.
is the point,
So
no? If it was Pratishod ki Gatha, then they did not have to go for a, exile, no? They would
peace
have
treaty, yeah.
made a,
Yeah,
yeah,
they
they
would
would
have fought.
have made war right away. They went for
Yeah.
that. Then they came back, asked for their kingdom, wasn't given to them. Krishna ji went as an envoy. Krishna ji asked for it, still wasn't given. ऊपर से फिर कृष्ण जी को बांधने वो लोग चले, and uske baad the whole thing happened. So you can't say that this was Pratishod. The other idiotic thing that people say is ये तो सारा plot के लिए करवाया, and this is going viral, okay? 7 to 8 people have sent me this on my thing to say कि आप जब ये specifically महाभारत के ऊपर कोई बुक वो करोगे तो इसके बारे में प्लीज बात करना कि भगवान तो आए थे, या फिर भगवान चाहते तो वो तो पूरा वॉर अवर्ट कर सकते थे. व्हाट वाज द नीड to fight a war? He
Hmm.
just did it for plot purpose. That those were the exact words. I am not even kidding. They
Lovely.
said for plot purposes.
Hmm.
आप क्या आप आपने भगवान को एकता कपूर की भूमिका में समझ रखा है क्या? व्हाट आर यू ट्राइंग टू से? यहाँ पे धर्म और अधर्म की लड़ाई चल रही है, where there is on one side absolute destruction of family. So okay, so when you talk about dharma and adharma, and there are the four yugs, the concept goes that
Hmm.
पहले युग में सतयुग में there was no evil, right? Then evil came closer to
They're
you. How did it
closer
come
to you.
closer? It
It
came
came
in
on the
the
same land, same
it
world.
it came in the same world as you, which was
Hmm.
Ramji and Ravan, right?
And Ravan. Yeah.
And then it goes Dwapar mein. Dwapar mein, the evil is literally
It
within
came in
your
the same
family,
family. Yeah.
and Kalyug mein, the evil is within you. Now
Within you.
that
Hmm.
so the constant fight of dharma and adharma is happening within you. That is how Gita also dharma kshetra kurukshetra, that is what I was saying.
Hmm.
So uh with that in mind, I mean, what are you even saying? What plot purposes are we talking about here? This is
No, but
just
then this the image that has been put na कि Krishna ji was always looking for trouble and things like that. किसी ने बोला था कि this was put out in one of the things to Ami only कि oh he didn't stop the war, he could have held the Kauravas, and she's like वो literally उनकी army choose करा
and
दुर्योधन. How
see, the thing
else are
is,
you expect?
I find, ek to I know this is not very dharmic of me to say, but I will say it nonetheless. Shivraj Singh Chauhan 2 days ago in Rajya Sabha said this, and I agree to this wholeheartedly. हम किसी को छेड़ेंगे नहीं, पर कोई छेड़ेगा तो छोड़ेंगे भी नहीं. It is the same thing. Peace loving people and dharma loving people do not wage wars, but they do not
Hmm.
stay tolerant towards the in adharma. The society reserves the right of being intolerant towards intolerance. That is one. And two, Ved Vyas ji says this very well. Dharma eva. Sorry, that was unexpected. Ved Vyas ji says really well. Uh, Dharma eva hato hanti dharmo rakshati rakshata. Dharma destroys those who destroy it and protects those who protect it.
Those who
And
protect it.
Ved Vyas ji ka, I think there's a famous tale as well. Ved Vyas ji obviously was well, the one of the common points between the Kaurav lineage and the Pandav lineage
Pandav
and Vidur,
lineage.
right? And he was asked कि आप तो सब देख सकते हैं. वेद व्यास जी का यही पार्ट था ना, he could see futures, he could see present, he could see past, he could
Hmm.
hear every sound made in the universe ever, so to say. But he was asked, you must have known it, and he said yes. But the whole point is that this was sort of divine destiny. It was, you look at Itihas with the aspect of it enriching your value base, right? With it teaching you something morally.
Hmm.
So I mean, this whole concept कि भगवान ने ये plot purposes के लिए किया.
अरे अभी there is also this reel
I
of Amina where
someone says this, I support Hinsa just a little bit, just enough for me to slap them.
आमी का भी एक वो रील चल रहा है where someone is asking her कि you know um Do you think this is real or matlab Mahabharat and Ramayana and all? And she's like, okay, if you see it towards the end of it, she's like, let's say if it was fiction, you think it would have sad endings for uh, the people who are following dharma. At the end of it, she's like, see, this is what happens in real life. आप सब चीज सही भी करते हो, but at the end of it, you still have to go through your own set of turmoils. And she's like, which is what you see happening to all the characters as well. So
Oh,
she's like, this is as real as it gets.
exactly.
Huh.
Another thing, people, in these Star Plus serials show, एक दिन वॉर के पहले कुंती जी आती हैं और कर्ण को बताती हैं मैं आपकी माँ हूँ, एंड कर्ण इज ऑल लाइक वो ब्लैक एंड वाइट, वो ऐसे करके बिजली गिरती है, कर 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 कर, कर्ण स्टार्ट्स क्राइंग एंड ही डज, ओह माय
That's
गॉड,
when he says,
oh,
no,
he knows that already.
yeah, no, but that's what. अरे जब ये उसमें भी था यार, वो कौन सी बुक में था? And then he says, no, कि I want to join your side, but I can't leave Duryodhan because वो मेरा दोस्त रहा है, मित्र रहा
Oh,
है.
please. Oh, I was going to recite this only. This is very Krishna ki Chetavni, the part that I said. Krishna ji, when he went to, so when you say कि जो है प्रतिशोध की गाथा है, when Krishna ji went to Hastinapur and asked कि आप केवल 5 गांव दे दो, and he says दे दो केवल 5 ग्राम, रखो अपनी धरती तमाम, हम वहीं खुशी से खाएंगे, परिजन पर असी न उठाएंगे, असी मतलब अस्त्र।
Hmm.
दुर्योधन वह भी दे न सका, आशीष समाज की ले न सका, उल्टे हरि को बांधने चला, जो था असाध्य साधने चला, जब नाश मनुज पर छाता है, पहले विवेक मर जाता है। And then obviously the whole poem goes and it's very grand, of course. या देख
Yeah.
गगन मुझ में लय है, या देख पवन मुझ में लय है, मुझ में विलीन संसार सकल, मुझ में लय है झंकार सकल, अमृत फूलता है मुझ में, संहार झूलता है मुझ में। And that's the whole thing, no? I mean, he tried to use बेड़िया, लोहे की बेड़िया on the person who is the who was the father of Brahma, who created the universe, so to say. So, I mean, what are you even talking about? And it goes, बांधने मुझे तू आया है, जंजीर बड़ी क्या लाया है, यदि मुझे बांधना चाहे मन, पहले तू बांध अनंत गगन, सूने को साध न सकता है, वह मुझे बांध कब सकता है। So, I mean, people,
I
RIP to
just
people
feel
who say this is Pratishod. When Kripacharya showed Karn the mirror, it says, unable to control his rage, Karn started abusing Kripacharya, calling, and Kripacharya was the Acharya to both
हाँ,
Pandavas,
आचार्य to both them.
calling him just a weak old Brahman, biased towards the Pandavas, and threatening to chop off his tongue if he said anything more to displease him. This is your Dharma Rakshak Shri Karn for people who, fantasize about him, so to say.
Hmm.
Hearing the high talk of Dharma from Karn, Krishna was livid. It is indeed fortunate that you are reminded of Dharma now. People always blame their destiny when faced with calamity. Never do they remember their misdeeds. Did you not think of Dharma when a menstruating Draupadi was pulled by her hair in front of the Hastinapur assembly? Where was your Dharma when Yudhishthir was cheated in the game of dice and his kingdom usurped? Was it Dharma when even after 13 years of Vanvas he refused to give them back their kingdom? And pura fir it goes on and he recounts
Hmm.
every single thing. So I mean, for people who say that वो तो हमेशा धर्म के साथ खड़ा था, बस उसकी destiny खराब थी, I am sorry. Please
That
read
is the
before
whole
you yap,
thing.
because when you do
It's
not read and you open your mouth, stinky garbage comes out.
So this is basically RR. Okay. It's like कि नहीं नहीं I am doing everything. It's my fate that is going against me. Otherwise मैं तो बस आसमान चीर के पता नहीं खुले गगन से क्या क्या कर लेता. It's basically that only.
It is.
Because it's not like things are always favoring the. I mean, they lose way more. They lose way more than they would have wanted to bargain for. So you can't just have like your crying vessels up and against anytime something like this happens. But it's a
True.
good. I don't want to say it's a good lesson, but it's a good excuse for people who don't want to work to justify ki हाँ ठीक है why things are not working. I would have come to the flood site, but I can't come right now. Okay, your video is paused. So it's the whole thing. As I was saying, it's the whole thing where you want to blame everything and everyone around you for, let's say, things not working out your way. Whereas you
Ara.
also have the others. It is basically an RR. You have the other side that built an entire city that was snatched from them. And you still don't see them crying and cribbing like this. You just grit up and you move on. You do what you can do. But nay, you basically want to create a generation of weaklings that just know how to throw up their hands and legs and cry while lying backwards on the floor and looking up at the sky and then rolling around. Basically, like a 1 year old that wants to buy something from the supermarket and the mother doesn't agree, तो वो लोटने लग जाता है. But that was you as a 1 year old. Now imagine there are 30-year-old men or 40-year-old men and women who are like, Arey, nahi, I would have done God knows what in life, but see to support nahi mila. And their life goes in this.
Uh, it is fun. Anyhow, so with this, we come to the end of this podcast. An amazing book about Mahabharata. Of course, there's a part two, and at some point, we'll be reviewing that as well because Ami is Ami and she deserves all the love that she can get. So, yeah, we come to the end of Mahabharata Unraveled Part 1. We would absolutely recommend this book because, let's be honest, most of us will not have the time or the will to go back and read Sanskrit text or find very original, sort of translations for it or read such a heavy text.
However, if you do have time, Ami takes courses and you can join those where she literally goes through Gita and Ramayana, Valmiki Ramayana, and she explains everything to the T. She'll take your questions and everything. So you should just keep on checking out her social media spaces, mainly her Instagram, because she'll post anytime she's about to take a course. So you
And
should definitely sign up for those.
self promotion and check out ours. Any So yeah, with that, we recommend this book to you. An absolute 10 on 10 or an 11. I mean, yes. Anyhow, so yes, uh, a shubh day to you.
Bye.